Welcome to the Benjitucker.fit podcast. I'm Coach Chris with Coach Benji. Together, we have helped hundreds of men build their best bodies with over 14 years experience. The first half of this podcast, we talk about how our nutritional journey went and the lessons that we have learned throughout the years. Enjoy. So our nutrition journey. Okay, so we're going to start off with what do we used to eat like? What we changed initially, what worked or didn't work throughout the years, and what does our nutrition look like now? So what did your nutrition look like before you started lifting?
Okay, so before I started lifting, for context, I was a soccer player. It's really weird. I was very skinny. I was 130 pounds and I would barely eat. So I was burning a crap ton of calories, probably 1,000 to 2,000 calories per practice. And on top of that, I would only eat the strangest meals, I guess you could consider them meals, without any structure whatsoever, maybe when I was playing video games or right before school. So what a typical day would look like, for context, would be morning, just slam 2 giant bowls of Lucky Charms. Lunch, maybe I had like peanut butter crackers for lunch. Peanut butter crackers, maybe a protein bar. And then dinner, I don't even know that I would have a real dinner. Sometimes it would be pasta or whatever my parents were making. And then I'd go to soccer practice, burn 1,000,000 calories, probably more than I already ate during the day or close to it. And then at nighttime, I would be playing video games and just eat like an entire sleeve of Ritz crackers or just a bag of chips or something like that. And that was kind of my diet. So no protein, all processed foods, very high in carbs and fats. That was what my diet was. Because I was playing so much soccer and because I had no structure, definitely not enough food for my lifestyle and my soccer playing to be able to gain weight. So it was always very skinny. Then when I decided to make the decision that I was going to lift weights and try to achieve a certain body, I realized I needed to bulk and eat more food. I learned, okay, I need to be in a calorie surplus to gain weight. And I started resorting to like all the craziest strategies. So I had 2 giant scoops of mass gainer every day. That was about 1,000 calories right there. Probably made my acne worse as well. I would just eat everything I could that I knew was calorie dense. So most of my protein came from protein powder. Most of my calories came from the mass gainers, pasta, giant bowls of cereal, stuff like that. And I did gain weight. In the first 2 months, I gained like 20 pounds and it looked good because I was like 7% body fat in the beginning. So that happened. And as time went on, I became a fitness coach and started working towards my fitness goals, taking it more and more seriously. And then eventually I decided, okay, I want to do what I thought at the time was a proper bulk. It was finding it tough to gain more muscle. I said, all right, I'm going to bulk again. So when I decided to bulk again, I needed to resort to the same types of measures again, although not as extreme. So I had started eating a little bit better, more whole sources of protein, chicken, rice, stuff like that. But on top of that, to get the actual surplus, instead of just maintaining my body weight, I would have a lot of Reese's peanut butter cups or other sweets, ice cream that wasn't the healthiest, all these different types of things. My girlfriend's mom bought me a Reese's bucket that was like 370 Reese's, and I ate all of them in about a month and a half. It was crazy.
Oh my God.
That was kind of the background of all the negatives with like the good from, not knowing that I needed more calories, eating more calories, not knowing I needed more protein, eventually eating more protein. So there was some good that came out of that. But then recently, as I went into my newest cut, I said, I'm going to follow every single principle that I actually preach. I'm going to practice what I preach. And I started eating all whole foods most of the time. I only have been eating the foods that are easiest to digest. And so I've eliminated a large portion of those sweets. And I've never felt better. So not only is my body composition great, I knew that would happen anyways with the calorie deficit, but I'm not bloated. My acne's 1,000,000 times better. My skin's less greasy. I don't have to, clench my cheeks while I'm trying to take a shit, running to the bathroom. So there's lots of good things going on there.
Oh yeah.
So what's your background then? I know you. So mine, for context, everyone listening at home, seems like it's all over the place, right? I was really skinny and then I skyrocketed in weight. I did this cut and there's all these kind of things that I learned. So what was yours? I know yours is a bit crazy as well.
Yeah. So I'll give you the quick overview before I start explaining. I went from fat to okay in shape to super bulk to super lean, developed an eating disorder, and then got to where I am now. So it's a big jumps. So starting point was I had standard American diet, mostly processed foods, but dinner we always make it home at 6 p.m. and we always had actually a decent meal, but also included processed foods too, but definitely a good protein source in there. Then I started lifting. We got into a clean bodybuilding diet because my dad wanted the whole family kind of to follow suit. So it was just bland chicken, steak, fish with like frozen veggies because we didn't really eat veggies then, and just rice or potatoes. Simple as that. So it actually worked out. Like I ended up gaining muscle, losing fat, the whole nine. I actually dropped like 20 pounds and looked very lean at the time for a baseball player. Then I went to college and I just went up another 20 pounds. I basically have a picture of me in frame and then just went up. My shoulders go out of frame. That's how fat I got, and big and fat I got in a short period of time. 3 months, 20 pounds. So for context, that's a lot. Way too fast. It was mostly fat. I was moving weight though, but I also was running slower, performing worse for baseball. So that's a whole other story. So imagine a 5 to 6 year gap where I'm just kind of maintaining, just doing strength based stuff. And then I learned about intermittent fasting with Ola Crave. And I learned through Kino Body after his great video on advertising about him being Bruce Wayne that intermittent fasting was the newest thing. You can get lean as hell, eating steak, eating chocolate. Cool. I start doing that. I actually lose the fat that I never thought I could lose off my waist. Go down about 25 pounds. I go to 155 for context. I'm about 5'8". And 155, I was shredded. Veins everywhere, down literally to the V, like to the V in the obliques. But I also developed an eating disorder. So I had bulimia. So in college, I used to, not joking, fast for about 16 hours. Then I would have my first meal at lunch because I woke up super early. Then not eat again till about 8, 9 p.m. after I finished my clinicals. So that, and I was on track. Then if I were to go out and party, it would just be like a mass binge of a whole container of Oreos, whatever was in the fridge. I could finish all the frozen food, so like nuggets, pizzas, you name it.
Yeah.
I probably estimated every time I binged was about 2,000 to 3,000 calories in one sitting, and then I would just go to the bathroom, puke it out, and nobody would know because
They'd just be like, where'd all the Oreos go?
Yeah, all the Oreos, all the cookies.
Yeah.
It would just be like, I would basically eat it all. Even if it wasn't mine, I would just eat it all. And somebody else would look at me and be like, no way Chris ate it.
Yeah.
They would go around the house with 6 roommates. They'd be like, nah, he can't. You wouldn't have ate it. He doesn't eat that food.
Yeah, and because there's no physical representation that you might eat that food. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I came from. So it took me about a full year to kind of reverse out of it. So even though I knew what was wrong, and it's not like I was super attached to it. I was just very attached to my physique at the time. And I was just very lean. I didn't have so much muscle. It was just like I was very, very lean.
Yeah.
It got to the point where a year later is when I started to kind of reverse out of it. So there were still periods where I was still purging.
Okay.
But it took me about a year to finally get away from that completely. So after that, so that was 2016,
Gotcha.
2017. And I guess that's why I started getting super passionate about learning the proper protocols, principles, and that's where I started reading all of the stuff that I showed you and all that good stuff.
Of course, yeah.
And now it's the lessons I've learned have now built exactly what we preach here. And now today, most of our diet is now whole foods 80% of the time, and the 20% is whatever the hell you want, as long as you fit within the context of calories and protein.
Yeah.
I just ended up going a little even more cleaner. That's not right. Yeah, context of more clean because I like to perform mentally better. When I eat terrible food, it really affects me. So
Yeah.
I know right away that the context is that I know I get brain fog, my mental clarity's gone. It's just not a good performance requisite when I do eat quote unquote dirtier foods. So I even just enjoy eating more 95.5. And that 5% is actually I still make more recipe based stuff. I actually make my own food now based off of some like YouTube recipes or something off Google, and been experimenting with that just because I was like, oh yeah, I love blueberry muffins. Been making blueberry muffins recently with protein. See how that's going. It does not taste like real blueberry muffins. It's a better alternative though. banana bread, like stuff like that. But that's where I'm at currently. So it's a big journey point here. So imagine listening at home thinking that it's going to be one straight shot of, oh, I'm going to, start losing weight today and I'm just going to follow this trend, and not think that even as us coaches doing this I've been coaching now for a very long time. I was coaching even when I went through all that. Imagine our experience of lifting for almost, I think now 15, 16 plus years and going through this, that you're not going to have bumps along the way.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. But that's what makes you better if you stick through it. Like you went through all the trials, but also all the triumphs that came with that. And now you are where you are now. You're able to help other people avoid the same thing that you had to go through and endure. So it's all for a good reason in the end. It would be for a bad reason if you did all that and then just gave up because you said, wow, this is way too hard to maintain such a great body. So I don't want to deal with this anymore. I quit. Because that's what some people are going to do. So it's really good that you did go through that, in the sense that, not that anyone would wish that those types of things would happen, but that it made you who you are now and you're able to help other people avoid those things. So if anything, for you to go through that, now there's hundreds of people that don't go through that. So it's a great thing. I think that for both of us, we had learned in the very beginning some principles that were good through sort of a trend or fad. But with that came a lot of bad principles and habits as well. So for me, it was, okay, I know I have to be in a surplus now, coming from the skinny side of things, and I know I need more protein. But the way I got that surplus and the way I got that protein was not the healthiest way. And then as time went on, there's that happened time and time again until I am where I am now. And I was able to arrive at the conclusion of eating the way I do now and being able to operate the way I do now. So I would say that all these things happen for sort of a good reason,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole journey itself is, it's obviously all a learning experience. I would say I think what's cool is that now we can talk about some of the biggest transformations in our journey. Like what were some of the biggest lessons that you learned, or the practices that you do now that have impacted you the most, that you would recommend to other people?
That's a good question. So I think I could approach this from both the skinny side of things and the fat side of things, because I basically was at both for one reason or another. So I started skinny, and then at the end of my last bulk, I was basically, I think I would be considered obese almost. So I'd start with the skinny side first. The thing I'd learned from there is that, yes, you absolutely need to be in a surplus of calories. Yes, you have to focus on getting around a gram of protein per pound of body weight. But how you go about achieving that surplus does not have to be extreme in terms of how much your surplus actually is. So I was gaining 2-3 pounds a week. I didn't necessarily need to gain that much a week in order to put on muscle. Not at all. So that was probably takeaway number one, is that I didn't need to gain weight that quick. Number two was I didn't need to eat the foods that I did in order to gain that weight. I didn't have to have mass gainer. I didn't have to have all these sweets, because now I've sort of learned the strategies of, for example, sweets helped me be hungrier, eat more food. But now I know I could have a healthier alternative that's still sweet, that makes me hungrier and want more food. And now I could just go in and have a healthier whole food, because my hunger was kind of brought about in a, I guess you could call it a healthier way. I wasn't jamming my face with Reese's peanut butter cups. And then on the cutting side, going from fatter to leaner, I would say the biggest takeaway was so I had already known at this point that I should be in a deficit of calories. If I'm eating in a deficit, I'm having enough protein, I'll look good. And that was absolutely true, always. That's never going to change. But what I did learn is how I feel is different depending on what I eat. So for how I eat now, because of the cut and what I learned on that, was I'm eating about 80% whole foods. I would say actually probably 85-90% whole foods, about 10% whatever I want, as long as it fits within my calories and protein target. And this is a lot better on my acne, a lot better on my just how kind of greasy my skin gets, and my bloating as well. So all three of those things have gotten significantly better. And I would also say that there's probably part of that actually does help my physique, because I'm not bloated all the time. So not only does it make me look better, but it makes me feel better. I would say, I know that's a lot of things that I've learned, but that's the whole point, is you guys are going to experiment with all of this. Hopefully we help you avoid a lot. but you're going to have lots of lessons to take away as well. Hopefully just a little less than what we took away because you're starting at the right point.
Mm-hmm.
How about you? What would you say is like the biggest takeaways you got? I'm sure you have some from starting from fat to skinny and then also going from like too lean probably to out of that position.
Yeah, I could definitely, I'm putting it in a way where it's very simple, right? I think if I were to take my year's time with nutrition, I would break it down, simply put, as you want to right away get away from very heavily processed foods, and anything that has more than 2 ingredients in it is probably already mostly processed. Everything's processed.
In all likelihood, yeah.
So the first major step is to just be like, I am not going to have anything that's basically packaged overall, like generally speaking. And you're like, oh, it's not possible. Like even like meat's wrapped in the plastic. It's like, no. You basically, if I say a food and you know what food it is, you probably put it in a good or bad category. Not because it's good or bad, just that we do have these connotations.
Yes.
You probably should have most of that quote unquote good food.
Yeah, like that's the quote, right? It's like you generally probably know what's good for you and what's bad for your body. Like if I say Doritos versus I say chicken breast or broccoli, like you're probably gonna know one is probably gonna make you feel a little bit better physically than the other.
Yeah, like the thing, the biggest practical things that come to mind right away was going from eating Cheez-Its and Sprite for breakfast, which is the worst combination for you possible.
Epic.
Then transitioning into like eggs, and at the time I was having bacon a lot, which is fine. So like I felt a hell of a lot better there, right? That's just one meal. Now imagine that across 3 to 4 meals, right? So get away from processed foods most of the time will automatically help you no matter what, cutting or bulking.
Absolutely.
And 2 is you want to have a base diet. And what I mean by that is no matter if you're trying to put on weight or lose weight, you're trying to build the principles and basically a base where you're able to navigate from. So no matter if you are trying to lose, maintain, or gain, it looks almost similar. You're just making the small changes. What I mean by that is if I'm just trying to maintain weight, how I just go about my day and maintain my current life, that diet should almost be identical to putting on weight and also losing weight. So if most of your meals you eventually want to get to lean protein, most likely two servings of protein minimum, which is about 2 palm sizes of your hand. Then you have 1 to 2 veggies and about, depending on the size of the person, 1 to 2 servings of starches. When you're dieting, all you do is you can basically get an even leaner piece of meat. You can cook with less oil or use spray oil, or you can take away 1 or 2 servings of the starchy carbs.
Yeah.
And then when you're bulking, all you have to do is just either add another serving of fat or get a fattier piece of meat, or add another serving or 2 of starch at every meal, right? Like look how easy that was. Like I didn't say like this is the best way. This is easy. This is just a very simple. If you get the base down, you can literally just add these tiny little things.
Add or take away, basically, right? Like you have your base. You have your base that allows you to maintain your weight, and then you add a little bit more, or you take away a little bit. You keep the protein the same, and you're either gaining weight in a healthy way or you're losing weight in a healthy way. You know, I mean, it is simple, right? I would say that it's very simple, and then usually the saying is that if something's simple, it doesn't mean it's easy or hard. But I would say the hardest part is actually allowing your brain to get accustomed to a point where you are eating such a simple diet. Because once you get there and you're able to sustain that, then it actually does become really easy to sustain because now your brain doesn't have those signals where it wants to binge eat or it's craving all these sweet things. Once you bypass that and stick it out for whether it's a few days, a few weeks, maybe a few months in extreme cases, once you're at that point, it becomes pretty easy to maintain this diet because it keeps you full. It keeps you looking good. It keeps you feeling good. So all of those things, I mean, I think if people get to the point where they're able to contrast on this foundational diet versus eating everything in sight, what made me feel better I think most people are going to stay with the diet that made them feel better because they actually have something to compare it to now. Whereas if you ate perfect for one day, you have nothing to compare it to other than, wow, this day sucked because I was craving all this stuff all day long. You know what I mean? So their only contrasting point is that the good diet, or the diet that was probably better for their health, wasn't good because they were still having withdrawal effects. But once you stick it out, they actually have a fair comparison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you definitely, if you're going to start doing something new, especially with nutrition, you want to take at least 2 weeks before it sets.
Absolutely.
2 weeks of data, or at least experimentation. So you understand that if something were to have happened, you can actually take note of it. And yes, it will not be one day. It will not take 2 days. We as coaches already take 2 weeks worth of data.
Yeah.
And if not even that, then it's 3 days of pictures of just understanding of what you're eating right now. So understand there is a timeline to this. But guess what? You're probably in the 1% of people that are actually going to take action and actually do it if you're listening to this right now. So that's why we are talking about what we have been through. Because if you can skip the parts where we, ate too much protein powders and all these processed foods just to get to the point where we did, and then I developed a disordered eating, and Benji went from super skinny to super fat, back to the middle, like all over the place.
Yeah.
You can skip a lot of this by understanding that we want to make sure that you get to a good base. You want to make sure that you're eating minimally processed whole foods most of the time. And that already is the biggest base you can have. You can be way ahead of anybody around you that's telling you different. And guess what? It's so out of the norm. And the fact that most people don't really do this for regular life also goes to show you that I don't even say the system is against us, but the fact that everybody around us is either uninformed, misinformed, ignorant,
willfully ignorant,
and then willfully ignorant. So, or they're trying to bring you down. It's really just, there's not really many other options.
Absolutely.
So,
it's really funny that you brought that up. It's just hilarious that the Instagram video that showed up my feed when we were getting ready to film this part of the podcast was actually some guy doing a trendy video, posing. And he's like, the sad part is this is where we get all our health information from, and then it's pictures of what the people look like that are at the health ministries of the United States, Belgium, all these things. Our Lady is some fat trans lady. And then Belgium is some other fat lady. Britain was a dude that was not in a positive way, built like a house, right? And it's these are the people telling us our nutritional guidelines that are usually ass backwards, as is exemplified by the nutritional pyramid they came out with a few years ago, the White House.
Oh God. Yeah.
I just remember it was absurd, but I understand the point you're saying is that everyone around you, if they're not doing this, it's not positive. It's a negative environment.
Yeah, exactly. So basically we're trying to show you what we have gone through throughout the years, and now you can understand why we're so passionate about this. So you can bypass all the mistakes that we have and then what we've been through. So you don't have to go through it, and you can literally skip a total of 14 years worth of pain on just basic fundamental systems of nutrition. And yes, I know it goes so far deep because it obviously is tied to your personal life, your social life, your psychology, all of it. So I know it's tough, but that's exactly why we do what we do.
Yeah, and you'll get, like you said, you're going to bypass all these years of struggle to start off at the right point. And if you're doing that, if the average person, because the average person is not going to do everything right, gets a certain amount of results in 10, 15 years, you're going to get the results of 10 to 15 years in 3 to 5 years just because you didn't make all those mistakes going up and down and doing everything wrong. How many people have you seen working at gyms before that they come into the gym and they're consistently working out every day, but you see them 3 years later and they look exactly the same. And things don't change until maybe year 5, 10, 15, because they actually didn't have the right principles and it took them a while to learn it themselves. But when you're starting off from after our 15 years of experience, we're transmitting that to you and you're able to start from there. Well, then in 3 years' time, in 1 year's time, you're going to get phenomenal results just from doing things the right way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And some of you might even not even just be here for purposely aesthetic purposes. I take pride in understanding performance-based metrics, especially for production. So we work with a lot of guys who are in high-powered situations. They are, either C-suite workers or C-suite officers, or they're just high, very productive businessmen, and they have to be on a lot. So just doing these basic principles will help you, quote unquote, heal your gut. No, I didn't want to say that. That's so bad. Basically, the better your digestion, the better your brain will also feel. And you're like, oh, okay, now we're going to the woo-woo stuff. No. Here's what you understand. Basically, if you're able to eat the foods that are good for you, generally whole foods, then you're able to digest it, and then also they're all filled with nutrients, protein, the whole nine. I guarantee you that your production overall is going to be a lot higher than when you are normally eating your coffee with muffins.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's definitely been true for me.
If you like the first half of this podcast and want to continue learning more secrets about building muscle and losing fat, head over to www.thegenerationfit.com/join, where you get to join our insider school community. Now for the second half of this video, where we talk about Deadpool and Wolverine, our opinions about it, and much more. Enjoy. What do you think of Deadpool and Wolverine?
That's such a loaded question because it's the craziest movie ever. Well, I feel like we can't give spoilers in our review of what we thought, right? Is that messed up? Or people are going to be hearing this like weeks later. So if it's a spoiler to them, they suck.
This will be out week 4 of the movie, of the starting date.
So we can give spoilers.
Yeah, we can give spoilers.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
season week 1, yeah.
Okay, that's fair. So I thought it was awesome, first of all. We saw it together for everyone listening at home. But I was not expecting that at all. Like, I was expecting it to be crazy. You know, it was obviously like a Deadpool film. I love Wolverine. Wolverine's awesome. I've watched all his movies since I was younger. But I was just shocked by the amount of cameos. And I know how the whole idea that just because there's a lot of cameos, it doesn't make it a good movie. But I feel like they did it in a way where I wouldn't even say it was necessarily the greatest storytelling of all time, but that's not even the point of a Deadpool movie. It's kind of like a Adam Sandler movie in the sense of there could be a meaning behind it, but the whole point of the movie is that just like some stupid shit happens. And then at the end, there's still kind of a moral to the story. There is and isn't. So I think that's the point of Deadpool movies.
Yeah, Deadpool is not. It's supposed to be so against the grain, break the fourth wall, try to make everything outlandish. It basically is almost like an old school comedy, completely cantankerous is the word, but
cantankerous.
but basically, he's supposed to be so out of the norm. So I think they did a great job of grabbing two people who are obviously the best brands out there right now. You have Ryan Reynolds just doing his own thing. I mean, he owns all these businesses that nobody really knows about besides like Mint Mobile.
Yeah.
And that's because of maybe commercials.
And then the reality show with the soccer team, right?
Then the soccer team that he owns. But the whole point is that everybody knows Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
And then the only Wolverine on the movie screen. Hi, Freya. Hi, girl. It's the hairless cat that I have, Sphinx cat. Her name is Freya. For those watching you on the YouTube. But these guys have huge brands. Like Hugh Jackman is the only Wolverine on the movie screen, I think.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The only one, like probably since ever.
Yeah.
Unless they did one like years ago that I probably wasn't born for.
I don't think they even did. No, he was the only one.
Yeah, so there you go. So you have the only Wolverine, and then Deadpool. Well, you see Ryan Reynolds killing himself in the other movie.
Yeah.
In his other Deadpool movie. But it's so interesting how they put them together. They're marketing like crazy, and they're doing a great job because they just broke $400+ million box office opening worldwide, which is insane.
Yeah, they're breaking all these records. It's pretty sick. Well, what was your favorite part of the movie, or at least favorite cameo? Part of the movie might be difficult, but favorite cameo.
Dude, I think I was more laughing throughout most of the movie, so I can't even. It's so hard to pinpoint because most movies now I don't even have a reference. It's more I turn it off because most movies are just bad, but like this one was just enjoyable to watch. More so, the fact all the jokes were obviously completely out of left field.
Yeah, they definitely were. Yeah,
they were obviously not politically correct, which is great, which I love.
Yeah. So
I couldn't really focus on like a certain point that I liked. I would say there's definitely a few things I did like, and then some of the scenes. Besides that, they like towards the end where 100 Deadpools came out of nowhere. Yeah, which I thought was really cool because everybody was just a different type of person from a different universe, which is awesome. Channing Tatum as Gambit.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
They did a great bit with. I honestly, we still have no idea what accent he was doing or what.
Yeah, because we're not persona. we never read X-Men comics when we were younger, so we don't know where he's supposed to be from. But he sounded like a Southern black dude from like Louisiana, like a Southern Cajun, like French, but like I don't know. It was crazy.
Yeah, I just thought he was a French dude, and then the whole running joke of it was that nobody understood who the hell he was talking to and how he was talking and where he was in the accent.
His expressions were crazy.
And then Deadpool made fun of Channing Tatum in the movie itself, saying, "Who the hell is your linguistics coach?"
Yeah.
And then as he was playing Gambit, so obviously he broke the fourth wall like 25 times in the movie.
I think I like the bit where they beat the shit out of each other in the car, Wolverine and Deadpool, for like 24 hours straight. It's like a whole day's gone by and they're just beating each other up. Like that was cool.
Yeah, there really wasn't, like, in terms of depth, there wasn't. The whole point was that it was not really that much depth. It was almost as much depth as like Fast and the Furious saying family about 20 times in the movie.
Yeah.
And I watched every single one of them just because it's just, I'm there for the action, not the plot. Really.
Yeah, exactly.
And in this case it's probably the same thing. I'm just here to have a really good laugh and just break every other movie out there right now, because there are no blockbusters right now. This is the biggest one I can think of.
Everything sucks now.
Yeah.
Except I think they're coming out with like slightly better movies now. Like I think there's a little bit more coming out.
Well, they even said it in the movie. Like Deadpool literally came out and was like, "Yeah, Disney's not going to do great right now, but I think we're heading in a better direction." Right
Yeah. Well, it's like when Wolverine showed up, and he was like, they were talking about like the merger or whatever in the movie.
Yeah.
And
Fox.
he's like, the merger, and he's like, by the way, you came at a weird time, or like you came at a downtime. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I couldn't believe. Well, I also when he goes up to the camera and he's like, "Suck it, Fox." What is it, Fox or Sony?
Fox.
He's like, "Suck it, Fox. I'm going to Disneyland." Like, that's great. Like, I wonder what the people at Fox like actually think about that.
Oh, I couldn't even tell you. There's so much behind the scenes we probably know nothing about, and in this case, it probably had to do so much. It was probably so much money involved, especially with now that X-Men's huge, like X-Men and all these characters are now really big, especially with the big names. I know Fantastic Four, they're probably going to have to do. I'm pretty sure they're redoing another one. And
new cast, right?
And I'm pretty sure it's the guy from Mandalorian and
it's Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, Pascal's everything. He's the Mandalorian. He's the guy.
Yeah.
He's the cartel leader in Narcos.
In Narcos? Yeah, he was in the Nicolas Cage movie I watched. It's like about a parody of Nicolas Cage's life with Nicolas Cage in the movie.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Pedro Pascal is like Pedro Pascal is like the drug lord in that one too.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Except like he ends up being like a good guy. I don't remember. It's a crazy movie.
Yeah, and then he's in everything now. He literally is in every possible. I'm pretty sure he's with Tom Holland in another movie, and I don't know. He's everywhere. He's honestly.
I don't know what happened though. Like I didn't know who he was until I watched that Nicolas Cage movie like 3 years ago, and then he was in everything.
He broke through. He's one of those. He's the same guy as Glenn Powell. Like you probably have no idea who that is, and then you watch Top Gun, and that was like his first.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know you're talking about.
He's basically like the jock.
Yeah,
he's like a super like hot shot. Like,
and now everyone loves that guy.
Yeah, now then he played a movie with Sydney Sweeney, and everybody's like, "Well, we definitely gotta watch him because he slaps her ass all the time." And
yeah,
movie, like loves her. So she's like the new Marilyn Monroe. And then she comes out recently with like I'm not even joking. The headlines that I get like everywhere on all these articles. If I even click on movies or on X, and it literally goes trending on movies, Sydney Sweeney, and it's like the first one is like she says that she's gonna be nude in every one of her movies. It's not gonna stop. That's like one of the biggest headlines.
That's crazy.
Or trending on Twitter or X.
I'd rather Marilyn Monroe than Sydney Sweeney.
I don't know. I
don't really care.
It's just funny because like that's the first thing that pops up, like the highest trending thing on X today or yesterday. So this is July 30 or 31 filming time. So just think about that. And right
the cat's about to commit suicide.
And the cat is literally on the railing trying to hit the camera for those on YouTube. So if you think that we're just gonna give up right now or me move from this camera, I actually think it's kind of funny that this cat is doing that. So I actually have to move it right now.
Yeah, the cat's trying to mess with us right now. Almost committed suicide. Almost got Chris in trouble with the whole family at home. Okay,
this is the Easter eggs of our podcast.
Yes. So okay, now we have Deadpool, Wolverine. Is there any other good movies coming out right now? Well, have you ever seen the original Twister movie?
Oh, it must have been years ago.
Did you like it?
I don't know enough about it, but I definitely have watched it. But
they came out with a second one, so that's kind of cool. Like I think that's cool.
Interesting. I don't think it was like the whole point is like I watched those movies when I was young, and then all these remakes are coming out now, especially all like Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Right, Ghostbusters just came out recently with 1, 2, or I'm pretty sure on 3.
Well, they did a woman's one too. That one flopped for obvious reasons, but like the new one with Paul Rudd, I think did decent. They brought back like the old cast.
Yeah, just make up your own. Just make up new characters, new plots. You don't
Yeah.
have to replace it. James Bond ain't a woman. Okay, it's just not how it goes.
Yeah.
I don't want James Bond to be a woman.
Jamie Bond.
She should just be a 00 agent and be her own entity, her own character, her own plot line.
And then it would actually probably be good. Like, that's the whole point. It's like you're not making it just because she's a woman. You're making it because it's a good plot, and then that's interesting.
Yeah, you tell like the whole point. The whole point of I love Freya. The whole point of all this is that you can literally take. I don't care the color of her skin, all this other stuff. If her character traits were like James Bond, so if she was an orphan, if she was trained to be an assassin killer who's multilingual and can read people and is like the best detective of all time, she sounds pretty badass to me.
Yeah. Well, what if she was like on like a bunch of tests and Tren, and like she was trans, and then like was like a jacked James Bond like that looks like a dude, but it's not, and then we just made believe that it was, but like she was jacked.
I think it's
They can make it a comedy.
it would be obviously absolutely hilarious. But I think that's kind of the point is you want to play to their strengths. So knowing like being, if you want to talk about aesthetically pleasing to the eye, that would be completely destroyed. Like everybody would be like watching the movie like
It really defeats the purpose of like James Bond, the Playboy.
well, if it was on the female side, I'd recommend, and I know nothing about making movies, so don't take it with a massive grain of salt. I'm just saying a great idea in my head would be get an aesthetic looking female. Generally speaking, doesn't matter the skin color. You could write it off however way you want it, because the whole point is the person's an orphan and has no family. That's the point. But make her aesthetically pleasing, stone cold assassin killer in multiple martial arts, great detective, very quick on their feet.
Yeah,
very witty.
Well, you know what they could do is like I actually like you just made me think of something. I cut you off, but Ana de Armas was in the last movie.
Yeah.
Like, remember her role? Like, she wasn't. I don't know if you remember. Maybe
No
not.
Time to Die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, like, she's in the beginning, but she's like really goofy, like kind of like she's like, I can't believe like this is my first time doing this. He's like, what do you mean? Like he thought she was talking about something else, but really it turned out like to be like a mission. So like that could be the whole thing, is it's like a big twist on like the character in the sense of, she is like a very good looking person, very aesthetically pleasing to look at. And then at the same time, she's like a little bit of a goofball, but also murders people. Like, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, that should be that should be like something like that. The whole point is like you don't want to rewrite it as like, oh, just because this person is a woman or whatever entity you want to call it,
because then no one cares.
Yeah, then no one
act
cares.
like they do.
Yeah, you make a great plot about her parents died in think of all the biggest movies right now. It's like you have Game of Thrones, you have Harry Potter, you have all these big movies and shows, and a lot of it is like they lost their family members. These people died. They overcame these pains. That's the kind of the whole point. Versus, oh, they just got it because of skin, white, whatever DIE. That's not DEI, it's DIE. Whatever other BS is in there. It's like, no, make the character plot amazing. And if you do have a female 00 agent, that's great. The whole point is that it's just a number that they're given as a it's a code name. It's not, it's all it is. But like everybody knows everybody within the English system knows who 00 is.
Exactly. No, you're right. Like, the parallel is that like my parents, like Batman, right? Like, my parents died. Like, I went to the League of Shadows. Like, I came back and like with all these skills, right? And then like now it's like I was a woman in 2024 and I didn't have my own movie and now I do. And then like that's the hero's journey. It's not really a hero's journey.
No, I would watch any movie, especially like, just have James Bond, like different name, somewhat close, probably badass name, but just write 00 like 007. It could be a woman. The whole point is that 007 can be a woman, but the whole point is that you don't write it as James Bond. You just have it as whatever name the person's gonna be, and have her be as badass as possible.
Yeah, it could be like Matilda Tits McGee or something, like something else.
Yeah, I just make sure that the person's absolutely amazing, and the whole point is that they're witty. It just so happens that you're like, why aesthetically pleasing, and it's like they don't necessarily have to be. It's just the point that if you're probably all these other things, you probably have mastered of what you look like.
Yes,
and also to deceive other people too. So
absolutely.
And if you're in shape, you're probably looking a certain way.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, like the best. What's the quote? Is that like a female is the only person in the world that has the power to be able to ruin the life of someone who's a billionaire, basically. So it's like that's really important for spy work. Like, it's just consistent with the plot, guys.
Yeah, it's like use your advantage. It's like a Black Widow. That's like what she did like in like 2 of her movies.
Well, yeah, I remember watching Transformers with Megan Fox. Remember that scene where she like sticks like this giant like lizard tongue down Shia LaBeouf's mouth?
Yeah, there's this whole scene in the movie of the slow mo of her doing the mechanics of her car, pop the front hood,
Yeah.
and trying to fix something. It's like literally slow mo in the whole movie, and everyone was like, "Oh, movie's 5 stars."
Yeah. We're like, remember in Grown Ups where it was like, it was the good looking girl that was David Spade's daughter. And then another one is good looking too.
All
And
three.
then the third one comes and she's like so ugly.
Yeah,
Like that makes sense.
Yeah, it was like a blonde, a redhead. It was like a blonde, a redhead, and Asian, and then and somehow they found an actress that looked like exactly like him.
Yeah, that was great.
Which I thought was amazing.
I don't even know if Rob Schneider, we're all over the place in this podcast, this part of it, which I think is a good thing. I think that makes it more fun. But Rob Schneider, like what even is he? Like, is he Asian? Is he Mexican? Is he Native American? Is he like, what is he?
I couldn't even tell you. I assume he's from the last name Jewish, but that's
true.
That's assumptions. And then,
I mean, I wouldn't expect an Asian or Native American's last name to be Schneider, to be fair, unless they got married.
I think he's definitely, from what I've seen, like especially his posts, because he's very popular right now with the he's part of the anti-culture right now. So
yeah,
he's always posting about fighting back right now on today's Western Front. So he has pictures of his family, and his family members and his nieces or whatever are also like, I've seen different mixes of colors and stuff like that. I'm sure somebody could, I'll look it up later. We'll eventually have somebody pop it up one day, not right now.
We'll have our own Jamie.
Yeah, but he's definitely a mix of something. He definitely is, or he's married interracially.
Yeah,
he himself. I don't know about his blood though. Obviously,
I can't believe you'd recognize that a marriage could be interracial. That's crazy.
Yeah,
well, it's like Beyonce, Tiger Woods. They're like 65 things.
I mean, that's cool. That's probably really cool then.
Yeah, we're not. Imagine like people think like, what are they trying to say?
Yeah, to the best. Like they're the best of what they do. Look at Tiger Woods being literally the best at golf, probably of all time.
Yeah.
Of all time.
Best at golf, best at cheating.
And then Beyonce, affairs.
Yes,
not golfing the game.
Yeah.
And then you have Beyonce, who is multi-platinum record singer, artist, all that kind of stuff. So I mean, she's obviously super successful. So by no means am I saying that it has anything to do with it, literally their background whatsoever. But more so that their work ethic is insane. I mean, if you ever watched the Tiger Woods documentary, he went through a lot of shit with his dad, and then his dad was so militant about everything that that was his way of letting loose. Honestly.
Yeah. I know nothing about golf. I've never watched golf before, other than when Tiger Woods came back and won the Masters, and I thought it was really cool. So that's all I know.
Yeah, it's inspirational. Yeah. Absolutely inspirational. I don't know much about golf either. All my buddies play golf. They mock me because I don't play golf. Funny story. I actually for I would say a fundraiser and almost a get together. Most of my baseball teammates all play golf now, and they usually host an annual golf outing where we just got a bunch of our buddies, families come. We just donate some money to a good cause, usually dictated by the person running the organization. And I know nothing about golf, so all I do is I show up looking nice, just in golf clothes. I just show up, pay money, no golf clubs. I purchased a golf cart and I just start driving around, and that's all I do. I'm just there for the picture.
Wow.
And I just grab somebody else's golf club and just start swinging it for the fences.
Yeah.
Shank it every time.
Every time? Yeah.
I know nothing about golf. I baseball swing it every single time.
That's great. I can't make contact with the ball probably if I was trying. I'd be like Happy Gilmore, but miss every time.
Yeah, there's so much skill to this. There's so much skill to it, and some people who are like not athletic listening to this. It is a massive skill gap. You can see, I've seen guys who are baseball players. They just have the potential to use their hips to swing through and make a lot more power production from the back end to the front end. But my God, you have somebody who's just average in strength, like just like a middle of the run guy who just hits it straight on. It's the most beautiful, most elegant thing you've ever seen. You just like straight hit, like a little pop, and the next thing you know, it's like 400 yards on the green. You're like, okay, well, like I'm like 25 pounds more jacked than this guy, have no technique whatsoever, and I shank it 600 yards to the right.
Yeah.
But I don't know nothing about golf.
Well, I know that there's a video that's going all viral right now, or 3 weeks ago from when this podcast is being aired, but with Trump and that professional dude at the golf at Trump Bedminster, they went golfing together.
Oh, near here.
Did like a big video about it. Yeah, it like blew up. He had a solo eagle. Yeah, for real. So like on camera, like he really backed up his shit talk in the debate, like by coming out with like a video a week later.
Wow, that's actually very impressive. To be fair, it's so funny that during the debate, they it's in the middle. They interjected with, "I'm a better golfer than you. Let's go." basically. And that just sums up basically what that whole debate was truly about. It was just the whole point was all attention, quips, and then the personality just came right out because he's just like, yeah, come at me. He basically said, come at me, bro. Yeah. Like, that was basically it.
Well, I think, if it was RFK, it could be like a push-up. Like, that's the one thing. If Trump was debating RFK, if RFK wanted anything on him, he'd be like, I challenge you to a push-up contest, bro. Like, or a bench off. Like, well, no one has a chance. Like, what guy in the other party, in the Republican Party, could challenge RFK Jr. to a bench press competition and win?
If you're talking about
that's actually like
the candidates, yeah, no shot. Like Vivek would be like the leanest out of all of them, but like I guarantee he
could maybe do the most pull-ups.
The most pull-ups, definitely. But yeah, no, RFK is like jacked and on TRT, so
yeah,
he's openly said that. So I my money's on RFK.
It'd be anyone. Well, that's like the greatest post of all time, where he's like doing push-ups and he's like so pumped up, like well, I guess not roided out, TRT'd out, just like veins everywhere. He's like, President Biden. And he has like the weird voice thing. Like, I challenge you to a push-up contest to do one push-up. And he's like going nuts at the camera. It's like the greatest promo video of all time.
I've always questioned what I can't make of his voice. I had a client and he's a professor. He's a political philosophy professor. And we would sit there and talk during his sets and his rest periods. And I'd be like, what the hell? Where did he get his voice from? Is it like...
he had a disease or something like that.
A disease, okay. Yeah. I didn't know if he was like, he smoked or...
yeah.
I was like, what? I was like, I'm trying to listen to it. It's like, I can hear it anywhere.
It's rough.
It's a snap of a snap of a finger. I know exactly... Like, you hear Ben Shapiro, you know exactly where his voice coming from. You hear Charlie Kirk, you see his face, you know who that guy is.
Yeah.
It's like that pronounced.
You can see like his gums. And so you guys, we can make fun of both sides, all right? So...
Yeah, like these are very distinct characteristics. And his voice... is unbelievable. Like I just remember listening to it for the first time, and I was like, "Wow, it is pretty rough." And it's a shame because like it's like he's like independent in this race, and he's still going. It's just funny that it's hard to listen to his voice,
yeah. And
it's such a shame because like he's the only independent, and like technically I'm there too. But
I wonder if it helps. Yeah, technically me too. I wonder if it helps or doesn't help though, in the sense of like like you said though, who he is. Like for example, if I was a lifter on Instagram just showing my physique. Okay, cool, decent physique. But what if half my face was burnt off? And then I posted that. Or I was missing an arm and I was like doing bicep curls with my left arm only.
You would definitely
was gonna blow up.
You would definitely get a lot of love. People, especially the people that are like any sort of, whether it be a deformity, whether it be a genetic anomaly, and they still pursue, it like blows up to 1 million likes or 1 million views every single time. Like the guys in the wheelchair doing pull-ups, with the wheelchair attached to them, strapped in, just doing pull-ups. You have guys and gals doing snatches with barbells with no hands, like just.
Oh, that's crazy.
Or sorry, snatches with one hand.
No.
I was like, wait, I hear snatch. No hands. I was like, I guess you have bionic arms, but there are people with one hand that will snatch one. That will do that. Bench press 2 plates with one arm.
Yeah, that's crazy. The balance of that too.
Like natural people, not Larry Wheels. I know Larry Wheels did 2 plates on each hand barbells at the same time.
Yeah,
it's a psychopath.
I'm gonna dip half my body in acid and then paint my face black and then lift weights and film that, and I think I'll blow up.
That's 2024, baby. That's making viral great.
People are gonna show up to when we make it like huge and our podcast has 1 million views and our original viewers are still watching us, the new viewers are gonna come back and they're gonna be like, "Did you really said that?" Like,
yeah, we say the craziest shit. I don't care. That's the whole point. The whole point is that you like us, not for.
You're here because you like us. You're either with us or against us. Join or die.
If you got value from this podcast and want to continue getting value from us, follow us on Instagram at handles Coach_Chris Lee
and at Benji_Tucker19.